In terms of the JRPG that I am looking forward to, or a JRPG that I would look forward to, because this is going to be one of those weeks where I bring up a hypothetical JRPG, and this isn't technically a single JRPG that I'm bringing up, but a JRPG that I would look forward to is a Final Fantasy game series, and that's it. So pretty much what I mean by that is, you know, Final Fantasy is famous for being a series where every game they bring out is supposed to be different. The combat style will be different, the visuals will be different, the world will be different. There's no actual timeline that connects the other games to each other. It's like more of an anthology series. And so what I would love is if Final Fantasy had a more of a long-running series alongside the normal releases. They don't have to be huge games. It could be like smaller games, but like I just like whenever like my favorite game series are Kingdom Hearts and the Trails games, and I fucking love how dense they are with lore. Like they're teeming with lore and story, and the worlds have so much potential. And I'm 11 games into Trails world, and there's so much more to learn about that world. And it's kind of disappointing, honestly, when I play a Final Fantasy game and I love the characters, and more than them, I love the world, and knowing that like I'm never gonna learn more about the world because after this game, there's never gonna be another game. And I know they've done something like this in the past. They've had Final Fantasy X-1 and X-2, I believe. They've had Final Fantasy XIII-1 and XIII-2, I believe. Both of which I haven't played. I've technically played a bit of X-1, but I wasn't really into it, so I'm gonna try it again at some point in the future. But what I'm talking about is like I want like a, for example, like if say Final Fantasy 16 was one they picked, there's a Final Fantasy 16 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. Like it just keeps going. Obviously, assuming it was created with the intention of having a long running story, then do it. Don't just arbitrarily make more games. That'd be stupid. But if, for example, Final Fantasy 17, or it doesn't even have to be a numbered one. Say it's called Final Fantasy Neo or some shit. I don't fucking know. But say let's just call the hypothetical game Final Fantasy Neo, and say the creator has a plan for this game, but their plan for the story is like far reaching. Like they think they're gonna need like fucking 10 games to tell this shit. Like I would love that. And obviously don't make it as big as a full mainline Final Fantasy game, because those take years and years to make. Like the time between Final Fantasy 15 and 16 was way too fucking big. And so if it's something that they can start working on and release a game every 1 to 2 years, like smaller games, like that'd be fucking awesome. Like I'd like that. And yeah, because like I mentioned, like Final Fantasy 7, for example, is like a game with such an interesting world, and it sucks that for the longest time we didn't have more games in the world, and that's technically what we're getting now with the remake with Rebirth, and whatever the third one's gonna be called. Like even though technically it is a remake, but they're expanding so much in the world and they're changing so many things where it does in a way feel like a sequel series kinda. And so that's why I really want a long-running series of Final Fantasy. And what's funny is I was writing the notes for this segment, and I was kind of writing like, oh, how I'd want a Final Fantasy long-running series. And then I thought about it. We actually do have one. That's Final Fantasy 14. The more I thought about it, that's exactly pretty much what I want. It's a Final Fantasy game that's running alongside all the other Final Fantasy games, and every expansion you can just think of as its own game. They come pretty often, like they don't take too long, and they're obviously not as long as normal games too. So it's funny, at the end of my notes I realized again, Final Fantasy 14 is pretty much exactly what I'm asking for, even though I'd prefer more of a traditional JRPG single player experience. I love Final Fantasy 14, don't get me wrong, I enjoy it so much, but I just can't play that often because of it being a multiplayer game, where like when I play games these days and I'm usually busy, I kind of want to be laid back on my couch, maybe, but I may play for 4 hours if I have time. I may play for 20 minutes. Like, it all depends. And Final Fantasy 14 is a game, like, you can't really play for 20 minutes. Like, a lot of the times you're stuck in a storyline, or sometimes you have to play, like, a dungeon multiplayer, and so you kind of have to set aside a lot of time for it. And so while I love Final Fantasy 14, I would love Final Fantasy to get a long-running series with its more traditional single-player JRPG approach. But yeah, it's pretty much all my thoughts on wanting a long-running Final Fantasy series, and hopefully that is a JRPG type game that we can get in the future, and that's one that I would look forward to.